it's not possible in this time to take some analysis of it, and that's why I only take also the planar triangle.
The positive qualities of the design part. It is a good and challenging starting point for present problem, how to plan new large office spaces in Riga. And the disadvantages are, although the size of the office building is not a problem itself, the proposal gives an impression of unsolved huge building volume and layouts. Besides the lack of functional and spatial qualities of office building, the layout seem ruled by ArchiCAD, actually missing the touch of architect and planning of spaces. The project lacks analysis how the building itself and facades of the building performs differently regarding the direction of sun, where it might be a problem of overheated office spaces. And the question is?
Yes, the answer of the question is that the triangle can improve some problem situations, and in this situation the cutter triangles in the volume shows for the people moves that you can go in both sides of this building, and there is not sharp edges that goes in you in front, and it shows that you can move in both sides. Also, the triangle is a very dominant and dynamic form, so it's take some look to get to them. So the triangles I have used also for the entrances, so people could know where to go. And also I have used some triangles in this facade ornaments because triangles is there is very much varieties how to change triangles and make more different ornaments of that form.
Yeah. I mean, I understand the intent is to investigate the triangle, and I agree with the comment about the triangle, just looking at it planar. I think when I look at the model and I see the triangle used as application on the facades, and I see the rest of the building forms. I'm looking at squares and rectangles, so I don't see how you've brought this triangle or the spatial aspects of the triangle, except in the front, where you begin to lift the actual ground, the topography lifts up, and you're taking that planar triangle and starting to create a space underneath it. And so I think that part is the beginning where I see it beginning to work. Okay, so to get away from just having the triangle as application or as a formal shape that is applied, you should investigate how this planar aspect creates spatial elements, and the same as in plans. I think this would be the biggest comment I had. You can see it also in your picture at the very top there, where the ground becomes to lift up and the planar becomes spatial, and this dialogue between plane and space and triangle, and you can get away from it just as being application, but it can go further. So.
Although I'm personally a circle person, but I don't. But I like triangles too. But I just wanted to ask you, just curious, how did you come up with this topic? I mean, I just wonder, like, okay, I have to write bachelor thesis, so what could I write about? Triangles, or how did it happen? And then the second question, quickly, because I mean, as much as I could quickly read something about this, but I wonder, so according to your research, how is it? Is it more triangles in the building better, or every building has to have one triangle, or yeah, what's the conclusion?
Okay, about the second question.
Yeah.
There is not say that must be more or less triangles. All triangles that are used are needed to be some reason for that, then it works. When it's only for beautiful or design idea, I think it will be look good, then it's probably not working. Maybe in some situations will work, but it's in my case studies where I was analyzing the big companies objects, there was always some reasons like people flew or something like that, and there was only one time when I have read from the reasons why the shape of building is so. There was only one time that design was made so like they are working together buildings. So there was some making closer with triangles, but it was only one time when I saw the triangle as like a design element at first, but. Yeah, and about the first question, why I take this theme of my bachelor thesis, I was thinking that my building, what I will after then build, I want, it's very often that there are rectangles or some 90-degree building plans, and it's like very often, and I wanted something else. But with cycles, I have been some problems that have to build with axes and so, and there can be also not a regular cycle, but there can be some larger scale planes where is some oval elements and so, and it's harder to say, draw like every time the right measure of this lines then. And so I was thinking of this triangle, that there's something, for me it was something like calling me. Maybe after then I was thinking maybe like I'm a VV, Vita Vorkala, and maybe it's like a triangle, so it can speak with me. And so yeah, and there was also another big idea about the bachelor thesis, but it wasn't about the geometric forms.
Okay, then question from me. If everyone is classifying themselves in form keys, so I'm rectangular, I guess. But in my practice, but I would say I'm more about not some particular forms, but about the attitude to the environment, what is around you. So yes, for the city axis, which are of course necessary to plan the city blocks, not only one building. And yes, for, in my opinion, for knowing very good what is happening in your neighborhood. And so actually, our comments or also the questions, the question would be like, did you analyze what is happening actually in this area? Since the Mukusalas area is with pretty good plans and very particular topics in that area, what is happening? Because your new volumes are like really making very absolutely new scale and absolutely new directions in that area. That is like a question. And I really wonder, why did you not mention actually the best known triangular volumetric building in Riga, which is the TV tower. Not TV tower, but actually TV tower is also next block, but the TV building itself. So that's exactly in front of your block, and you didn't mention that, and it's not in your axis and so. And yeah, but the question is how, in your opinion, this new turn of buildings and new axis impact the other buildings and the development of all that area?
So about
because
this,
it's not only about the building, you are speaking about the city block.
yes, about this, why I didn't mention the television building, it's because I hadn't why it has been made. At first in the A part I have started to make analysis of buildings with triangles in Daugavas left bank, because can be seen triangles also in different buildings. Not only these two television buildings, but also can see some triangles in Swedbank building, Vanštilts is also, and National Library is also some things that can be classified like triangles. But there was no information about the reasons, so much like the Brachingels objects, and that's why it wasn't. The axis I didn't take because it's a building, it's a point, and then I must to have another point with how to make this line, and then I can say that here will go through the line. And I didn't found the second point vertical. And roads are like lines, and that's why I was continuing it, and so made the street network at first, and after then I must this cross streets made take the continue from the Rhine-to-Dambis, make it parallel, because it was a closer parallel street for the Mursel street. And I was looking of this area around neighbors. That's why there is still office buildings, because there is more office buildings in this area. The newest buildings in the street is also in the same height of these buildings. It's like 6 floors, and I can say that it's different from the other territories in this street, with that there is more intensity. There is less free places, but I wanted to make like more used space for these buildings, for the living, for the offices.
And the influence with the hill language.
So I was thinking that in this project I make idea that it must be make better improvement, so the people who live there, and also from the surrounding, they come and can take a walk beside it, because there is tree, water, and that's what people like when they want to take a walk. And that's why also the residential buildings are closer to Kiel and ditch, not for the traffic streets.
Okay, Vita, I can give you a pair of examples about triangular architecture also. For example, in Barcelona, they have a building that is a triangle, and in Mallorca, another architect, a Spanish architect, that is Alberto Campoabeza, has another building that is a perfect triangle in the plan. It's a perfect triangle. Okay? So, if you want to work with a triangle, you are free, of course. Okay? But I think that you have to recognize the particularities, the idea of the triangle. That is, that you are not going to have an orthographic grid. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You have to deal with this. You have to solve this. And you have to recognize one point in the triangle that is very important, that is the corner. So about this, I wanted to ask you about how are you dealing with this part of the triangle, with the corner. So in particular here, for example, that you have a nuance, a gesture in the entrance, okay, in the elevation. But how are you dealing with this on the plan? And here, for example, how do you deal with the corners?
So the main idea is that the sharp corners is the best to use, like let them be free, not with something inside. The most idea that it could need to be so in the office buildings, because those who are there inside, they always want to use the space more, and maybe they would put everything where they can put, but in the sharp corner there can be anything put, and so it's a free place where is place for the air more. So you make some free place where to move also, and in this place I always like it that I can go to the glass and see to all sides. Maybe it's better when it's like a ring shape, not the triangle, but it's also like you see two sides, and I think the sharp place is always for the view to outside, and it's like some connection with outside, inside, outside. And about that, you can say the many examples of the triangle buildings. Yeah, I know that there is many examples, but like I say in the answer of the A part, this amount of these buildings is so large that I couldn't look up every one of these. Yeah. So I think that's what I have information on.
Okay. So if we don't have more questions, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Coffee break. Sandwich break. Good. So we are almost perfect. Exactly. Wrong on one.
We are.
Excellent.
Next up is market duties. The basics of Soviet-era urban planning in Canada.
So to briefly understand what is the Soviet effect of the modern society and development plans and development districts, we need to understand the situation nowadays. More than 50% of Europe's biggest countries have the effect of the Soviet time buildings. In Riga, 85% of inhabitants live in Soviet-era dwelling houses, which leads to my research part theory, the basics of Soviet-era building planning. The research topicality, of course, affects the existing situation, and they do not refer to the masterpiece of the architectural planning, but to mostly accommodate the society's living requirements and surrounding areas and planning and functional districts development. The planning of these districts are variability resolved, which provide better living, favorable living conditions, but by the influx of the people, they can be changed. The research subject was chosen one of the largest districts near center Čemeraks, with more than 50,000 inhabitants. The development history and nowadays situation were taken as the research part, and of course future possibilities and inhabitant touch were considered as also one of the subjects. The goal of the research was to find a successful urban solution in the dwelling house building area of Soviet times. To analyze the existing structures and usefulness of the buildings, the research was to analyze the existing situation and, of course, nowadays and the future solutions what are provided by the municipalities. Which leads to our hypothesis that residential buildings are safe to operate with adequate and management regular is provided. And to understand the brief case of this topic, the research method and data analysis method was used by observations, surveys, and social networks and interviews of the inhabitants. The construction part of my research part was developed in three main subjects. Development strategy in the 20th century was based on the historical part of it. The situation nowadays was based on the structural part of construction and the visual part. And the third foreign examples were chosen to understand how the situation is maintained in other countries with similar kind of problems with influence of the Soviet time. After the research, the conclusions could be made that that these buildings were laid out and planned as the quantity of the people, and they were planned as to accommodate the workforce for the factories, but also the landscape and development plan of the greenery was kind of laid out, and the transformation problems can occur for both the dwelling houses and the green areas beneath them, which leads to an attractive kind of living area if they are not maintained properly. But of course, the economical situation of the countries is depending on them, and support programs are provided mostly over the existing foreign examples. But the biggest conclusion was that ignorance in the population is very high, and that the people are not understanding how these programs work. This leads to our second part, the design part, the revitalization of Tiangari Pond environment. To understand what is the main idea of the development that needs to realize what is going to A to B. This could serve as the concept of the buildings for the further development and how the districts can appear to the modern society and the future development. The ignorance in the population are really high, so the design part can supplement the hypothesis based on EPAR that there is a need for communication between the municipalities and the existing inhabitants. The main part was the communication, to establish the communication between municipalities. And what is the main goal of the research was to find the specific part of the district which can be used as the as this communication part. The area was chosen was the area which was intended to serve as the district, as the center of the suburb, but nowadays it's largely overgrown and not used at all. To understand the concept, the existing territory is mostly the pond, which could be used as the relaxation and recreation zones for the inhabitants. And of course, based on the situation and the surveys, the cafeterias as resting points are going to be added as well. To research this area, it already has a development plan based on the living accommodations to provide the residential area, which was not liked by the inhabitants because the pond was privatized and multi-story buildings were built around. Now the situation, this pond isn't used for more than 10 years and it stays in the shape with minor maintenance. To understand how the spatial solutions could be added and the functional solutions in pedestrian gathering places were taken into account as the research phase. Moving areas were based on the population and inhabitants. To develop a concept where the buildings are going to be located were based on the population's movement and the frequent flow of the inhabitants. The densest area is of course Daugavas Promenade, where there are a lot of people going by, so the two cafeterias were maintained closest to the existing area and bridge to ease the flow of the inhabitants. The communication center with the recreation zones was based further inland, to accommodate the people who are living there and can communicate with the municipality. The cafeteria's designs were based so the existing environment are not touched, and to provide both with the views and maintain more than 100 people an hour to relax and to enjoy the view inside and both outside. The smallest cafeteria is located near to the bank of the river Jalga and the pond. This cafeteria serves more or less as the resting points, as a small cafeteria where more than 60 people in half an hour can enjoy the views and some refreshments that they need to continue the walk with Delgos promenade. The communication center is based inland and serves as more as water sport activities and recreation area for the communication for the inhabitants and communication around. The first and second floor are served with a two-purpose idea. It's separated that the left part of is youth center, and the youth development programs could be used as the attraction for the communication. And the second part is the communication center, who is based in the first, second, and third floor. The zero floor is served as the maintenance of the water attraction based on the attraction. So that's all.
The review on both parts, the theoretical and design parts, were done by Arhitektu. About the theoretical part, as the positive qualities, she states, the chosen topic is very important nowadays and it can affect a big amount of inhabitants of Riga. It is very good that Martin researches his topic enthusiastically, while research of Soviet heritage is not very popular among professionals. Research is well organized and quite informative. Good examples and case studies from similar situations abroad. She hasn't mentioned any disadvantages. And the question you have
so in part, first question, of course the critical part of Soviet time is the planning, and based on the existing situation, nowadays more or less people see more unattractive than attractive, and the qualities of these kind of designs could be, of course, the functional planning and the accommodation of the society, but the modern society is changing, so that they require more space as the living accommodations that the Soviet times has provided. And the second question is, of course, contemporary housing nowadays has more or less a larger space area to live, which provides the inhabitants with the better living conditions, but the principle of planning is based more or less on the Soviet time kind of development scheme, that the accommodation of the people are necessary in the smallest or the largest districts, but the green areas could also maintain the nature's touch in the already existing design.
The positive qualities of the design part. The chosen topic is highly necessary and has a pressing importance in society. The quality of proposal is the temperate attitude towards the site potential. Instead of planning out most of the site, Martin strictly focuses on his observations of neighborhood and the needs of inhabitants, only adding missing pieces. The disadvantages and imperfections could wish more clear representation on posters, not overlapping drawings and images so much. There is a need to add some extra graphic information, for example, reader cross-section through the site, which could help to show the qualities the project actually has. The project definitely would gain with more elaborated images, but I believe it will come by practicing and time.
To answer the B-Park's question, of course, as I analyzed in the research part, that adding a new volumes in the Soviet time could make a shadow upon the already existing areas, because if you add something new, it will pop out in the viewing area and create a shadow to the already existing environment. Actually, it can be seen in the Tengera's, if you look in the model, there was a plan that this is the kindergarten, this is the school. They both are owned by municipalities and are renovated, and actually with the bright colors, which pops out in the kind of view of the district and creates a shadow of existing government houses. And to complement the second question, of course, adding a brand new identity that creates kind of a new volume to the area, but the existing situation should be taken into account as well. Thank you.
Es gribu uzjautāt par ūdens tilpnes austrumu malu.
Yeah.
Par šo austrumu malu, tad šīs koku stādījuma zona, ja līnija vairāk vai mazāk piesaļ šo bezpersonisko ēku būvapjomu. Sakat, lūdzu, kā ir ar insulāciju, jo šeit veidojās rietumu izsaulojums dzīvokļos faktiski? Tā ir 5 stāvu apbūve.
Of course, this situation I was taking account by evaluating how these buildings are going to lay out. Of course, if this is going to work, the development of the area will take into account with the whole area, and maybe some new trees or the old ones will be taken out with the plan, because the tail end had already a lot of trees, but it was cut out due to the process of the trees that were almost falling off. And where the communication center is based, it also has the same situation, that these trees are very old and in the bad shape. So maybe the evaluation of the environment of this pond can be taken into account for the development.
I have a question about the program. First, it's very good and nice idea that you are turning to this particular point of in the city, because it's a really interesting place. Others are like, all the district is like flat with the new buildings, I mean Soviet time buildings, but this is with some kind of landscape already natural, so in connection with Daugava, of course, it's very valuable. But I have a question about the chosen volume of the new inhabitants center.
Yeah.
What is there inside? What is your proposed program for? What the neighborhood needs actually? Is that some kind of sport facilities or something like that? Did you thought about it more particularly?
Actually, the existing school, which will communicate with the communication center, which is going to be separated in 2 parts. This will be the youth development center, which kind of affects all this area. And there are some sport qualities which school can provide to the new volumes of the buildings. And the other part of this building will serve as the communication for the inhabitants so they can express their ideas of developing the development of the district and understand the municipality works, because the nowadays situation that they do not understand and kind of are ignorant in this kind of point of view, that's why this district is not kind of developed in the way that it kind of could be developed.
Thank you. Just about the image of the building that you're creating, right? Because okay, so you're making a public buildings, right? So it's and maybe I just wonder how did you choose how the buildings look like, how the windows, like let's say the openings versus the walls and everything else, because what I can see, maybe it's maybe you were referring to these other surrounding buildings from the Soviet times with these kind of very rhythmical windows and everything that what was made there. But at the same time, I mean, this is different typology. You know, this is like there's a reason why there are these small windows, because there is one room or two windows or one window. But you're now making a public building that has to be inviting, that has a kind of bigger rooms behind. So you're basically like putting, from my understanding, you're putting these kind of 2 things together, right? Like identity, this is very rhythmical, versus like functionality, like going over the functionality, and then typology, you know, because the typology and functionality would say you need bigger openings because you have to invite people for a public building. You need bigger openings because there's the bigger rooms behind the windows. So this I wonder, like, why do you choose to sacrifice a little bit the typology and functionality towards the identity?
Well, the main idea of the communication center design was that in the existing situation, the human flow that are going from all the bus stops and the tram stops are not going through this area, and this is the most kind of unused area in the whole this kind of area. That's why I wanted to add this kind of opening, so it can serve as the viewing point from the, almost from the street, and the people can they are interested in the further situation, and the environment is kind of inviting them into this area. But the cafeterias were based on the, of course, human flow, and to kind of accommodate that they are going inside and outside fast, so they can establish the volumes of the people they need to. Hope that answers the question.
Not really. I was thinking more about these kind of situations. You know, okay, I understand the openings in the building itself. I wonder about this library. That kind of gives the different impression that is behind the walls.
So okay. The plans. The second floor is mainly based on the youth development, which can express their identity and their kind of ideas in this kind of open gallery, which is going to be pointed to the views of the Daugo and the pond. And already communication between the municipalities and inhabitants could also serve as the kind of idea for developing this further solution, so that not just only the inhabitants, older inhabitants, but also the youth could develop this kind of district in their point of view. Of course, the first floor presents this whole large opening. It is mainly, as I mentioned, based on the view of this pond, so it can invite people in this environment. So yeah, that's all.
Okay. So I have two questions here. So the first one would be, for you, from your point of view, what would be the best space that you are creating? Can you explain?
The best space?
The best space that you are creating.
Space, yeah.
Of course, by the function that is needed, the communication center and the recreation area of this kind of suburbs place could serve as one of the kind of needed areas in the space. The cafeterias are just needed as the inhabitants insisted, because this kind of place in general serves as the middle of the Daugavas promenade, where people are walking by and they need a resting place, and there aren't any in this kind of situation. So I think that the communication center and recreation area are serving as one of the best places in this area.
Can you show us the cafeteria?
I think this area is going to be served as the best area. And this existing kind of shops that actually was planned as the cultural center in the district's development could also, maybe in the future, if this area works, that it could serve as the kind of development area for the future solutions, and maybe kind of join them together. So yeah.
Thank you. And the second question would be, what is the relationship between the existing building, that is this one, and this? What is this relationship? How is this relationship?
The relationship is that there are 10 meters between them, but this building from the historical point of view was planned as the cultural center of the district, but nowadays it serves as the shops or gym, some small shops and nothing else. But the communication center, if this kind of if the project is development, that of course the municipalities could expand and serve as and this building could take into account and join them together as the more functional development plan and cultural center of the district. That's the idea.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we have a 20-minute break.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we reserve the coffee break. Perfect timing. You said 6 minutes. So still 4 graduates awaiting to present the final thesis. So, Sydney, are you going to accompany?
Yeah, I will take you to the...
Nothing particular, but some sandwiches and coffee. Yep. Mennään tai sotilis. Ejam? Sintie will guide you. Pievienojies Sintie, jo citādi jūs...
Redzēt to cilvēkiem, kas polo iekšā.
Please join. Jūsu cik pusīt aizgāja. Es jums apēc 4 teicu, sekojiet. Labi, jā. Sintie sekojiet, mēs ejam šiem stāv zemā. Ejam uz AVM ķēķī. Tur vienkārši iekot.
Yeah.
Pēc tam? Jā. Nākamā dotai.
aizmirsu mājās. Man liekas, sniegotāji visu internets, ka nē.
Ko nedrīkst izstāstīt?
Tā latviski, bet angliski baigi lēni. Tā kā jau gribas, lai izteiksmīgi, kontrolēju. Tas man nelīdz, man tā kā jāskatās. Tā kā es varu visu izstāstīt, bet es tā kā skatos no teorijā, vajadzētu 3 minūtes, bet viņi man sanāk 6 minūtes šobrīd. Tā kā es mēģināšu ļoti ātri tam iziet cauri.
Skriet arī nav obligāti, ne?
Nu, jā, lai runā tā izteiksmīgi un lai saprot cilvēki un lai būtu vietas, kur varētu uzsvērt tos vārdus, tas ir tā kā lēni. Un 10 minūtes, tas ir īsi par īsi. Tā. Un tā kā... Ok. Tā. Nē, es parakstīju viņu. Jā, tas nebija universitāte. Es domāju, tā kā, kad sākšu runāt bija...
Kas tā pirmā?
Es gribu parunāt par čekurkalniešiem, ka viņi ir dažādi, bet ka viņas kopā tā kā they have a common...
Tas jaunīgs, kas tas ir, kaut kāds mākslas darbs, jā, instalācija?
Jā, viņš bildē īstenībā tikai jumtus, kāds aizmirst, jā, spānietis, manuprāt, arī. Jā, es var iemest. Viņam ir interesanti darbi.
Pasaka pierakstpriekšsēdz, nu, taču žūrijā ir Spāņu un arhitekts.
Jā,
Viņš priecāsies, ja tu
lūk, es domāju, pie šitā varbūt slaida noņem tā kā to maketu un iedod žūrijā. Ko tu saki? Ir jādara viņus spraust ārā?
Nē, es nedomāju, ka viņus spraust ārā. Kaut kas tev tur ir mūrams, jā?
Nē, es vienkārši domāju, varbūt es varu pats paņemt rokās un viņš tā brīvi ir.
Jā.
Tā kā...
Es nevicu, vienkārši tikai paņem rokās, kādu caurspīdības domu bija.
Jā. Kāds ir vispār daudz tam visam apakšā teorijas, tā kā kāpēc? Un tā kā viens ir pastāstīt, tā kā, ko esmu radījis, bet otrs kāpēc. Un tam kāpēc nepietiek kā īsti laika, nu tad lūdzu lasiet teoriju, ja gribat zināt. Tā nu, apmēram.
Dizains kaut kādā ziņā jau ietver arī to, kas tev teorijā ir.
Nu, man viss ir stipri bāzēts uz teorijas un uz manas izjūtas. Un uz kontekstu, protams, un čekurkalniešu tā vērtība, kas ir. Un tas ir tas, kas izveido.
Tu jau iedēļ pastāst visā aiziet uz momentu.
Kā tu man veiksi?
So, let's develop new public buildings and get welter. Nezinu, ko man beigās tā pateikt.
Jādara gadījumā, tas tas
cilvēkiem ir svarīgākā vieta. Rajonā īstenībā. Tad ir publiskā ēka. Kas veicina sabiedrības integritāti, izglītošanās un tā tālāk. Tas ir tā kā jauns solis starp veco un jauno. Labi kaut kādu tēmu. Tev izlasēt.
Gaļā.
Es jau nezinu, ko tu. Es pārnevās, mēs tikai izteiktāns ārās.
Es esmu ļoti nogurusi. Es tik ļoti gribu gulēt. Es domāju, kā mēs visi. Laiks es gulēšu 2 dienas. Tā kā. Es sāku aizkrāsot šito tēmu, bet es nepastāvēju. Tā, es pierakstīšu to auto.
Pierakstīsi?
А что, ты... Да. Может, все уже новое надо покупать, смысл чинить? Слушай, я тебе там написал во сколько? СМС. Хотела спросить там насчет вот этих вот крокодильчиков для картин. Ты можешь поехать и взять? Ну, попозже. Ну, я наверное позвоню, скажу, что спрошу. Они говорили, что у них есть там есть. Там надо будет заплатить, она мне внесла вообще фактуру, хотя я с ней говорю, да, вообще тупорылая просто, не знаю, я 100 раз сказала. Да, я тоже. Ну, короче, а второе это, ты мне не ответила, во сколько в среду или в четверг удобно по времени, чтобы встретиться с мастером. А я не смогу в среду.
Tas ir tikai sākums.
Dzīve vēl teipē. Последний. В среду. Не, во вторник он не может. Не забудьте сегодня ночь, по-моему. 16:30. 18:30. Хорошо. Алло, здравствуйте, это Анастасия, архитектор. Вот я хотела спросить, позиции, оплатили, не оплатили, стекло. Она также. Приблизительно когда-нибудь потом. Хорошо. Да.
Goed. Dat was niks. Super, nu moet ik dus pas. Dat wat goed is. Nee, we zien.
Jā, ir tādas tā kā frāzes, kuras gribētu pateikt, es viņas noteikti neatcerēšos, tāpēc droši vien latviski ir vienš, bet angliski vai ne?
Jā, jā.
Es saprotu, ka man zvanīja vienkārši bija mums pazaudējis.
Jā, es domāju, ka es man mūsu cepamiņiem jāstiek.
We'll just start in a few minutes and German, Andres, Diana. So. Visi, kas grib, tad mēs arī sāksim, mēs tad bišķi pagaidām. So, shall we?
Okay, so, hello there, jury. Nice to see you there. Here. I want to introduce for the start part A, but for the first I want to tell why I chose this topic. I think that public library is becoming more and more important nowadays, and it is the thing what's strengthening our community. And we as future architects should think about the social responsible architecture. Choosing location is Czechoslovakia. In the size, it's like a small city in the Latvia, so they deserve good library. And in the chosen location, there's quite good scene connection with the Via Baltica. And chosen locations show diverse buildings, which is historical and also new contemporary architecture. This is a very important thing, as Czech Kalniashi are a bit afraid of new things. So I'm making a private project and researching how I can do it. And this is the new project which is in development. These 4 houses are already there, called Desert Parks project. And this is the site. You can see a bit is different between this historical and the new development. Why I use checker counts? Why I choose this checker counts? Because the existing library is quite small. They don't have a lot of place for the new things what they are making, and also the local community, they don't have a place where to meet and talk about the neighborhood development. Also, I got some goals for the research paper. It's of course analyze the role of the public library and understand new models of using library. And research tasks was going through all the library historiography, analyze the relevance behind the libraries, and of course summarize the data, got some interviews, and to know more about checker counts. Also, I got some research subject is to understand more this urban context and also a program of contemporary library. And this is briefly, you can check the structure of bachelor thesis. And the main thing what happened, what I understand from part A, is that public library totally change. If in the start it was closed space for people from Elita and it was more like a warehouse, then for now, especially after when the web platform came, it changed. It become more open, and we can see it also in the planning. From the start it was closed, then it became more open and open. I got some table where you can check this difference between traditional library and contemporary library. This is the base also for future project that I am using. For example, atrium light, this modern freestyle architecture, open plan design, and like a civil room in the city. And yes, what I mentioned already, the principle for designing. I got also from the theory part. If we are moving to the part B, for the start I also want to say that the Četrkalnieši, they have one thing common. They are all interested in neighborhood development. They are really strong this need, but still Četrkalnieši are quite different. One of inhabitants are singing, dancing, they have a knitting classes. They're really active in all ways, what we can imagine. And also it is seen in architecture of Četrkalnieši, this diversity of in the context and location. And one interesting thing, how I get in this 5-street crossing, but in the future it will be 6-street crossing. For now this is a big problematic place, and there is seen quite many junctions, there are no crossings for pedestrians, so on. But I think it creates the base for inhabitants. For now it is like a happening place already for the 5 years. They're making some events there, celebrating Latvian events, and yes. So I decided to make exactly here new landmark, which can bring, of course, not only inhabitants but the tourists there. And this green alley, which is going through Algauja Street, also create some of gateway, which is which also helped me to create the form of the building. Of course, one of the main things is Northern Light, which is considered, but the thing how all this project is also made, it is including this context, and the streets, the grid is made by radial and parallel axis from the street, and these are main structures, and it helped me to realize idea about the closed space, a bit traditional, to the more open to the park side. And of course the plazas to integrate, to show this connection between the park size and building is also important. As also these plazas are important as they already are meeting here. And important is this atrium, if we are moving inside, where it can be possible to make different events also in the winter time. And with the roofs, there's different story. I'm trying to make this form to dialogue with the people who is going through this place, and welcome to go inside the library, which is for inhabitants. Also the transparency, which I'm trying to capture there, it is seen more in the model. This transparency is seen from different sides. It is also about this, the feeling that you can go there, inhabitants trust in the place, and they want to go there and spend some time, and to know that this information, the books, are available for everyone. This is a scheme about the base for the program. It starts from the events, what is already there. Then we are moving for the next floor, which is for community, and then it ends with the library. And if we are going through the plans, here you can see the atrium, which is possible to transform in different ways, and there's possible to make different size events. Also, another square which can be made is this area to open this book market, which is there, and the cafe. Also in the project you can see these new things that came into library program, because only library it can't anymore exist. Because of that, there's in the program you can see these side functions, which is sorry.
2 minutes.
Okay, and yes, for the next floor you can see this is more for community, but also it is possible to use for bigger events like a multi-purpose room. And in the last floor it is library, which is including audio-visual room and the new things. And what I want to also, one thing important to mention, all these places are quite flexible. So, for example, in one day this atrium can be connected with this gallery which is in the front, but in another day there can be like a different events. Also, as the next floor, these lobbies, these small civil rooms, these small living rooms, and it is important to give people different places where to go in and enjoy the space. And
Please summarize.
yes, and there's the question from reviewers. I got one question about why I choose the Czech accounts. Mainly I choose the Czech accounts because they're really strong community. They are open and they're ready for the changes. And also there is the question, can I clarify the role of the librarians in my project? Actually, yes, I talked with the librarians in the existing library in the Czech accounts, and she told me that they have a new functions in the library. It is a central point already now, but they don't have this place to make this event often and more and bigger. And the next question is to explain the innovative aspect of the library and topology in the project. This is like in which way innovative, or in technology or in the planning. If in technology I maybe can mention that, okay, there's quite a lot of space to give up space for drones, which can bring the books for West, or in library special planning innovations. In this way, innovations, these are these side functions. And this is a market shop, a bookshop, which are connected to the library. Of course, the gallery, restaurant, this audio-visual room, and these small living rooms, civil rooms in the library. And the last one question is, explain my approach of design decisions of creating a community center as one of core concepts of the project. And yes, one of the core concepts of the project is this community. As I'm making this project for the community, this existing community, which are already there. So the library existing, which is there, are quite already connected to the community. So I'm just making space for them to realize ideas, to develop the neighborhood. Okay, thank you for attention. Maybe you still at home some questions. Okay, so the review on the theoretical part was done by Ilse Rupšan. And what she states as positive qualities of the thesis, and they're actually written in Latvian, so I can try to translate a bit, maybe.
In the short translation.
Yeah. So she says that the student has successfully analyzed the historical development of the of libraries and their functions, and she also finds, as answers how architecture can help to develop the neighborhood. And the disadvantages that she states are that she says that she hasn't noticed any serious disadvantages in the word. However, she would like for the author of the word to have created a more specific analysis of the current situation in the neighborhood, and she says that the interview was good, but she would suggest to do an interview with in the future to do an interview with librarians. And yeah, so you already answered the questions and the comments of the reviewer about the design part. The reviewer was Ernest Schweisberg. The positive qualities of the thesis, he says, are that the chosen topic is relevant for the bachelor's thesis, and is very relevant for Riga. The author has done a good historical analysis. The author has shown the ability to implement the brief on a conceptual level and demonstrates gradual approach towards architectural design decisions. The architectural design includes concepts of transparency of a public building with multifunctionality and flexibility in terms of building program, designing library as a space for social interaction, community support, and interplay of various media of information. And the disadvantages stated are the author's attempt has been to overlay and merge different programmatic functions and patterns of use. However, the architectural design and layout overall is generic and considerably lacks detailing and clear understanding of every function separately and interaction of the program as a whole. Insufficient attention has been paid to the exact design of urban and architectural spatial qualities, the specific assigned programs, and variety of use. And you also answered the questions already.
You want to begin?
Maybe one question about particular building in a particular place. In your thesis in analysis, you are writing about you have data, very interesting data about the size and areas of libraries all over the Latvia, which is very interesting. And you notice that average area of libraries in Latvia is about 700 square meters. In this work, you are working about 2,500 square meters. And you also mentioned that Čekurkalns as a neighborhood is approximately comparable with small towns of Latvia. So my question is about the proportion of the area of library, for example, I don't know, somewhere in Latvian small towns, and you are proposing for Riga's one neighborhood principally four times bigger library or center than average. Just a question how it will, in your opinion, function.
Yeah, thank you for the question. The library as itself are, for example, but approximately for almost 400 square meters. But the size grow as I am making the contemporary library, which have these side functions. And about the people, they're already there, but not in the one place. They're meeting like in some garages, for example, right? Not to give them the space. So yeah. And also for the future development, which is also already started, it also can bring more people to the site. And also this northern corridor is important in the thing, like and
they have a friendship like with the Teika. Teika also don't have a good library, and around this neighborhood they also don't have a good library. So it becoming like a center of the place.
Yeah. But maybe this is a question of how you name your project, you know, because if it's like 1/5 of the project is library space, then maybe it's more a community centered than library. Maybe it's not a library with many functions, maybe it's a community with library. I think that would be less confusing. Yeah, then it would be less confusing, and or it's library, you know, if it's library with this contemporary library, then this maybe, because now the library is kind of separated as a one in the 3rd floor in one part, you know. And then it's just one of the functions. You know, if it would be library, and then I go through the library, and here I have a space to eat, and here I read, and here I have a space to do something else. You know, then it would be more a library with integrated more functions. You know, now it's one of the 7 functions to me. You know.
The thing is that still the library, and in this project it's all about the books. It's all about unlimited access to the information. And this is one of the reasons why I make these lobbies, these small spaces where people can, for example, bring the book from upstairs and go feel free in the all library, which is for them.
And then the question there would be about this big hall, because this hall is taking like half of your building almost, you know. But then and you said you could use it for different events, and I wonder how much true is that, because you know it has to be kind of more very flexible, you know. But now you have this very kind of weird shape, not weird shape, but just a column grid, you know, in the space. Then you have the stairs in the middle. The shape is also kind of complicated, you know. I just wonder how much this big volume, how can you really use for events rather than just okay, see, you can sit and read or something, but I mean, I don't think that you can do a concert or you cannot do a conference there. Also, because of how the people would then, because this is a hall where everybody would enter, right, to get where they need. That's one thing, how it would be disturbed by this both functions for events, you know. And the other thing would be, I mean, the space is not for that, you know. The stairs in the middle, columns everywhere, weird shape, and.
This side is more like closed, but this side is. I think about this, yes. But this side is more where you can bring these chairs and so on, and there's also these staircases where you can easily to bring it again away. So.
But not for events then.
For the
sitting.
events.
For what kind of events?
Different events.
For
example, watching a movie in the winter time.
You cannot watch a movie because there are columns.
And to get some light for the, maybe we can make bigger festivals in the size of Latvia there, and make some art projects and installations. The space is quite...
You have to write did something, who knows how to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but otherwise I think it's nicely represented, everything is clear, just then, because it's nicely represented, then you see these kind of small things about like functionality and everything, you can read and find them.
Iespējams, es savu jautājumu pārklāšos nedaudz. Tagad lūdzu, tad respektīvi ļoti jauka atrast tā ēkas arhitektoniskā forma, vai kas saplūst šie vertikāli starpni, kas ir paredzēta ēkā, saplūst ar pāri šo te struktūru un uzbūvi. Jautājums, vai pirmais stāvs kalpo tā kā tāds tranzita zona, kur saplūst parks ar ēku?
Jā, drīzāk, jā. Es arī varbūt nepieminēju, ka tur kā turpinās tas parks, kas ir, jā, noteikti.
Ļoti veiksmīgi.
How it connects to the rest of the park.
Respektīvi, pirmais stāvs ir stiklots.
Jā.
Un līdz ar to tas parks ienāk interjerā, un interjeras iziet tālāk parkā. Šis ārtelpas iekštelpas dialogs.
Tas ir ļoti svarīgi, jā.
Diana, I was wondering also about some particular things of the project. I have to say that this is acting like a link between this grid and this one, and you are solving correctly the union, the link of this. Okay. and also the link in that direction, okay, with the park. I was wondering about this, about the space between the two main pieces, okay? So what is happening in both sides? What is happening here? And but this is a question about, because I don't know why, but why this connection here that in addition is parallel, is something weird, because it's parallel and this is not parallel, so all the project is not parallel, so the lines are converging and are being are diverging. So why here the parallelism?
Exactly in this place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's useful for what, this connection? Because you can go like this.
Yes.
So you are separating these two pieces, I know. This one and this one. Yeah, but was necessarily this pass, this promenade, this.
Maybe I wanted to show.
This curiosity.
Yeah, from the from the side, like these 3 volumes. It is clear seen. It is together, but still time it is separate, because book market is the book market, gallery is the gallery, but it's still together. So
you wanted to separate really well.
Yeah, it's maybe a question of design.
I have to say also that the model is helping really to understand the project. So thank you by doing this this model. Okay. Yeah, nothing more to add. So thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Reinis Brikovskis, audit from architecture and its application today.
Hello, my name is Reinis Brikovskis, and the topic is, for the theory part, is Arhitektu's architecture and its application today. The aim of the work is to research the history of Arhitektu's development, how it was functioning historically, and how Arhitektu has changed today. What are the future priorities of this district and how it can adapt to modern functioning part of the city? Arhitektu has faced some changes in the recent years, but it needs to change more, adapt more to accessible different people groups, especially be more accessible for students. Research is about Arhitektu as culturally and socially distinctive district in Riga, and particularly about the area that surrounds my chosen location for practical part of bachelor thesis. The potential of its development and how it can work together with future development plans, still maintaining respect for surrounding environment of historic buildings. The task is to research and analyze the spatial and social development of Agenskalns, analyze the historical background, and understand the necessary today's functions and services. Work is divided into 3 major chapters as architecture, history, and city planning development of Agenskalns. Second topic is the case studies, and the last one is the key values that affect my part. The major research question of the work is what are the most needed solutions and functions for housing typologies? What are today's people needs in Agenskalns? What functional values have been preserved since 17th century? And the most important one is that Agenskalns is between 4 large universities and how it can be used. In case studies part, I choose to research 5 different building complex solutions of student housings, each from different location in Europe and one nearby in Riga. Choosing these case studies according to different criteria, but mainly because the variety of services and relatively small land plot. Exploring how many different functions can be combined in one building, conventionally placed it in a compact land plot. In the conclusion, the current regional level dialogue ignored the development of universities and comfortable large-scale infrastructure. It also seems to ignore the actual population evolution in this district, and there are no importance of future development. Also, there are no actions right now to attract more students to live in this area. And, without the involvement of this group of young people, Agenskalns can still remain intact and overall stay stagnant. Continuing with my design practical part, the name is Student Residential Complex in Agenskalns, named Lauvas Quartals, and the work scientific supervisor is Jānis Dripa. The chosen location for student residential complex is right in the middle of Agenskalns, nearby the first buildings in the district, surrounded by various beautiful historic buildings, but most of them are in critical condition. The location is very convenient from variety of aspects, such as convenient infrastructure, public transport, parks, and the city center is only 2 kilometers away from the site. But one of the most important arguments by choosing this exact block is it's only 15 minutes walk to 5 large universities. The site location is between central Sloka Street and the much more quieter Balvar Street, surrounded by various historic buildings. The planned site area is a connection with 4 land plots. Existing buildings on the site are in critical condition, full of abandoned garages and barns, but the area also consists of one of the greatest Latvian 20th century architects, Agents Laube designed villa. Laube's designed house is one of the 3 historic monuments in this area. As you can see in the diagrams, surrounded area has a variety of different material and style buildings. The present situation of this land plot is completely indefinite. In the recent years, the only thing that has happened there is unauthorized bar construction and existing houses are still kept in a degraded condition. The site design criteria are the result of exploration of the current situation, as well as the area permits. In addition, these criteria and principles are chosen for the basis designing the new building volume. In this axonometry, you can see the 4 new planned buildings. Incorporating the construction permits in this area, the main building is located right on the territory's red line, and it's connected with all the historic buildings facade. The wooden facade is also planned around the buildings in the courtyard, but with a finer pattern for lighting reasons, as well as the fact that Balwaj street side is much more quieter. Here you can see the master plan and how the courtyard is planned, and also the first floor program. The whole ground floor main function is co-working space. There is planned a variety of conference rooms, meeting spaces, open desks, and other comfortable types of zones for quality working and recreation for students. Also, the courtyard is zoned in 2 parts. One is open, and which can be easily accessible from the street. There are also located the bike parking spots and main entrances. And the other courtyards are more closed for co-worker users and apartment inhabitants.
2 minutes left.
This is a view from an open courtyard where people can gather between the hostel entrance and the sauna block, and also the cafe and bar. Each of the building block on the 2nd and 3rd floor has its own separated function, but they still share a common 1st floor program that is accessible for permanent inhabitants, co-working users, hotel, and cafe visitors. Continuing about the 2nd and 3rd floor programs, you can see here the hostel is planned with small 13 square meter rooms accessible for comfortable short-term stays. Apartment building has 35 and 50 square meter compact rental apartments.
Please summarize.
And the co-living block has much bigger apartments for shared living. And in summary, all these functions in this quarter will combine singular connection with apartment residents, workers, and visitors. The common functional collaboration will attract more young families and students to choose this part of the city where to live and stay. Yeah, thank you.
Both the theoretical and design parts, the reviews were done by Jan Slanich. For the theoretical part, the positive qualities stated by the reviewer are that the author tried to make clear the research problem, how to provide both student dormitories and low or middle class communal apartments. And the disadvantages and imperfections are there is not enough analysis of the territory from the cultural heritage aspects, not mentioned urban villa designed by Asian Slav for himself, regulation regarding Agenskalna administrative territory, otherwise the block is the part of this protected area. There should be mentioned the development proposal for student housing, recently announced on Arhitektu Opieša Street in Riga. And the question is, yeah, the first question that you see on the slide.
Yeah. The first question is, you state programmatic solutions for the site that there should be affordable prices competitive with non-significant offerings. What did you mean by those non-significant offerings? And my answer to this is, I mean by this, there is no offers for this type of small site apartments in this neighborhood. There are no middle class apartments renovated in this block. Also, there is a lack of student needed services such as co-working spaces and places where to take a rest.
The positive qualities of the design part. The building program is interpreted correctly. The master plan discovers the functionality of the whole complex. The disadvantages and imperfections are the aesthetic quality of the design of the facades is not enough beautiful, and the program is not translated into aesthetical architectural volumes. They are poor in color and texture. And the question on the slide.
Second question is, how do you name your design proposal Laub's Quarter? How do you reflect on your design name of one of the greatest Latvian architects in the 20th century? Can you agree that it's only the marketing tool of your design proposal? And, my answer to that is yes, mostly I can agree with that. The name Laub's Quarter is more chosen as a marketing tool, but still the site consists, is including this Laub's designed house. It's a part of the complex, and the function is changed, and it's office right now.
Do you want to ask something?
Well, yes, and I would like to ask, actually following with the questions of the reviewer, about the scale of new buildings. In accordance with city planning regulation, what is the allowed height and number of floors allowed in this area? This is one question, and actually on the facades, isn't it there's some mistake or something like that, because what is the plan of the floor height in your buildings? Because it's like seems a bit high, but well, maybe it's sort of a bit like yeah.
The plan.
So what is the load and what is your height?
The floor height is a little bit under 3 meters per floor, and the allowed total building volume is it was the same as the existing historical building. It cannot be more than 4 floors. And also researching the building allowed things it also need to be on the red line, this whole block. So everything is like taking consider the regulations.
Jūs savā pētījumā rakstījāt, ka jums tika izstrādāts 6 dažādi mājokļu attīstības projekti. Un izejot no tā, tika izstrādāti projektēšanas principi, kā tas tā rakstīts. Varētu dažus no šiem principiem nosaukt?
Few of those principles was concentrating on those small apartments and how those small apartments should be planned. What are today's needs, and what are people and young, like I mentioned, those students and young families, what they're searching for, and those are the types which I try to implement in my work.
I wanted to ask you about your name of this research thesis is about this Argenskal's architecture and its application today. But then I wonder, how much do you use that in your project? I mean, because you were talking a lot about the typologies that you would include, about the small or big housing. But I mean, But this is about the typology, but let's say about the architecture that you have researched about the Agenscount and its usage today. How do you implement that you have found out about the surrounding architecture of the neighborhood? In your project, did you include something?
About the visual architecture, I tried to build the maximum what's allowed in this plot, to push out the maximum from the territory. But what I mean about this, if I understand correctly about this architecture today, is all those things what I want to implement there, like this co-working space, which is lacking this side of our building.
But this is about the function. I mean,
yeah.
Maybe about the scale, or I don't know, the roofs, the facade, the windows, or what visual stuff is this?
I tried to keep the facades as can I say as monumental or massive as the other buildings on the street, like the archives and all, to try to keep in one style. Also, the buildings on the Balor Street are much lower, and I tried also to create them like they should stand out in the context of other buildings on that part of the street. If I answered correctly.
I'm still thinking. Go ahead.
Ah, okay. So I think that the look of your project is very drastic, okay, and the use of the wood is good. Must be like this because it's your identity, it's your material. So yeah, this is good. But I was thinking about the plan, okay, because I don't understand very well this point here, this connection between this covered street, because this is like a covered street. Doesn't it? It's like a sorry, because I have some doubts.
That's my fault.
I have some doubts. So the first one is this connection, and also the connection from the street, from the covered street with the buildings. So basically here that we have more space, is wider. And the third doubt, is why don't you connect the street, the covered street, with these other buildings? Because you are treating these other buildings also. You are considering this. So why not? So sorry, are three questions, but so the first one is
starting with those two buildings, because this is the Asian Slava building, and I didn't want to interact or mess with this historic monument. And this part change its function as a cafe and bar. So I want to keep the distance from the apartment blocks and co-living blocks. And the other question was those tunnels, which they have a function like they separate those blocks, because those two are more closed ones for the inhabitants, but these are more open from the street, there are more circulation and parking, and to some kind of zone then.
But I think that instead of the function of these two buildings is different, you can connect the buildings with the street. It's a street, but it's a different street. It's a covered street. So I think that is a very good idea here. A covered street is necessary. But the treatment of this street, I think that could be, I don't know how, could be more like a street. More like a street, not like a street. Okay? But it's good. The idea is good.
I just a comment regarding the need and the trying to address that need in Agenscount is, I think, appropriate and necessary, and to look at how to integrate new low-scale building volumes within this context is a is a good and necessary exercise, and I also think, since this is facing north up, I think the way you bring light in, even though those larger art volumes are large, you're still getting light in through the morning, getting it into the afternoon, and so I think you have placed those volumes in a way that light gets into those internal courtyards. And I also agree with the comment that perhaps extending that covered street up to the street, maybe not necessarily touching the historic building, but sort of just giving a sign or a signal to those that are passing by that there's this new information beyond these historical buildings, that you can sort of read that at the street line. Could be a interesting dialogue between the new and the old that you're bringing into this context. Comments?
So thank you very much. Okay.
Yes.
Let's see that process.
Next up is Silvestris Klavčinskis, reuse of degraded industrial buildings.
So the title is Reuse of Degraded Industrial Buildings. By Riga City Development Program data in 2015, the number of degraded buildings is high, 612 degraded objects and 235 degraded sites. So the subject of reuse is important. The main aim is to affirm that the degraded industrial buildings could be successfully adapted by reconstruction. The object of the research is focused on the environment that can be seen every day and changed by the reconstruction. Key hypothesis is any building can be reused both with its original function or with the change of the function. Study methods, field studies, archives, books and journal methodologies. An important method is related to analogies, foreign and domestic experience. The structure of study consists of 4 main parts. Foreign examples, domestic example by Zaiga Gaile, exploration of degraded industrial building in Riga, examples and choosing building comparison. The conclusion, degraded industrial building can be successfully reconstructed, transformed to a residential, office or other functional building. The main proposal is to find a margin where degraded industrial building is no longer profitable to reconstruct in both historical and material terms. The practical part is called correlation of output, existing and new, more precisely forming industrial buildings to residential buildings. This is a view of existing degraded industrial building and redesigned view of apartments, windows mostly facing south, behind the loggies. The solution reminds principles of Le Corbusier loggies design. Loggies floors are made of metal profiles and perforated metal plates. Parthians perforated clay boots. complementing building's industrial character. The perforated materials create the effect of lightness and transparency. And let more light come in. The territory with this building is located in Brīvības Street. It is a degraded industrial territory with more than 20 degraded buildings, forming a link between the practical and theoretical parts. The design task is to adapt degraded industrial building into residential use, and a part of a degraded territory for the needs of residential area. The land is located in a rapidly growing and evolving area between the new Teika and reconstructed west area. Residential neighborhoods are located in the nearby. There are no free car parking space and no parks and children playgrounds either. The project consists of 3 parts: exploration of nearest area, possibility of developing a part of degraded area, and reconstruction of degraded industrial building. The project concept is the spatial and functional solution provides for demolishing of small and critical buildings, maintaining a 7-story reconstructible building and a few other well-preserved buildings. As a result, the site developed in a public zone, a playground area, internal courtyard zone, and internal park area. The main entrance is from the Brīvības Street, where we get to the public area, where is created a small green zone with cafes and shops in buildings that are preserved. In addition to setting up a kindergarten for needs of the residents of house and the staff of gym and office, which also occupies these buildings. The playground is created for both, for kindergarten and the visitor needs. The internal park area designed to create an underground parking lot where the entrance is from Union Street. Above is a park with trees, conifers on the north side and leaf trees on the south side. From the parking lot is an entrance to the courtyard, like here. Pedestrians are able to get in the courtyard from Union Street too. In the inner courtyard are planned to create a basketball field that can be used as an ice rink during the winter time. A wall of partly demolished building is saved and used as a sound barrier. The barrier could be used as a screen for cinemas. On the other side of the wall are a lunch corner with benches and tables. Reconstructible building floor plans are different and different apartment layouts developed. In total, there are 23 apartments in reconstructible building. The smallest apartment is studio type apartment, 38 square meters. The medium one is 88 square meters, 2-room apartment with separated holding room. And the third type is 4-room apartment, 110 square meters. This is a 3-room apartment, 110 square meters too. My favorite is 2-level apartment, 139 square meters, 4-room apartment with separate holding room. This view is from 2nd level. The last type is luxury 5-room apartment, 150 square meters, with a large roof terrace. This view is from this room. The building has 7 floors and no basement. Constructive solution is maintained, and the floor height that is seen in the cuts are existing. The lowest floor height is 2.9 meters, and on the highest floor, about 6 meters, are located 2-level apartments. Facades are insulated and fiber cement boards are used for finishing. There is a new glazed staircase designed dividing a flow of people and providing an easier access to an apartment. Facades are complemented with loggias, perforated clay wood facade divisions, energo-efficient windows and doors. Brick facade itself is insulated according to Latvian standards. The east facade is supplemented with a metal profiles, perforated plywood and glass, performing lighting and decorative function in the inner yard. So that was all. Thank you.
The review on the theoretical part and the design part were both done by Roberta. And the positive qualities of the theoretical part are stated as the positive is the attempt of getting involved in this topic, and the disadvantages are the idea and structure of the bachelor thesis is not really acquired. And the questions you have on the slide.
Yeah, in part A, what were the criteria for choosing particular case studies? The criteria were constructive strength and floor heights. Why you think the chosen case studies are sufficient for making conclusions for the topic? Theme is not the last innovation, but still topical. People have long been doing reconstruction unsuccessfully. The research average was large in the size, but constructively similar, so it was enough to draw a conclusion. In the part B, how is organized the ATAS for cars, pedestrians and services. In the presentation was answered, the cars are going from the Union Street, pedestrians are able to come from Rīgas Gatve and from the Union Street through the part of territory that wasn't affected in this work. And the last question: how many car park lots are necessary for developing residential building in the particular city area? How many car parks are in the plot? The residential building has 23 apartments. The car park lots is up to 30, but it's enough for residential needs.
The positive qualities of the design part. The positive is the ability to give new function to the building and providing modern apartments. Nice solution for the elevations of the building. The author demonstrates high working capacity and frames of his understanding that is sufficient for the bachelor level and such complex design situations. The disadvantages. The graphic information regarding the location of the plot and adjacent streets is not really clear. In master plan, it is not obvious whether the developed site is the whole property of the Gatve 222 or only some part of it. The design task is formulated in one sentence. The design task is to adapt degraded industrial buildings to a residential function to make the adjacent part of the area with several buildings fit for residential needs. No design program added. On board, information regarding apartment numbers, elevation names, and other explanatory information is missing. The drawings and the explanatory note are improved. The main information regarding the building parameters and function is not given in the work. Brief information about parameters would be preferable. As the car parking is compulsory part of any residential building, it should be better solved in the project. The construction solutions for car parking under the big trees is rather questionable. The car parking and green is important topic for any territory development. The solution should be realistic and reasonable. In practical life, the proposal would look different, whether big trees and no underground parking or underground parking with small trees.
Jā, es gribu uzjautāt, tad es sākšu. Sakat, lūdzu, tad respektīvi esošajām zemes gabalām šīs te ēkas tiek demontētas, pareizi?
Yeah, that's in English.
Sakiet angliski, jā.
These buildings that are in critical situation are small, like these ones, and there is no logical reason to keep them.
Tālāk, sakat, lūdzu, lūk, nodemontējušos ēkas, šeit paliek brauna mūlis.
Yes, there is a fence, an existing fence. It's about 2.5 meters in the height.
Sakat, lūdzu, tā ir šī vietiņa?
No, the site is right there, this one. In the back, yeah. The front is the small green area in the public area.
Tas braunmūrīs gar šo te lampu,
Yeah.
Viņš ir cik stāvīgs viņš ir apmēram?
This building? This building is about 6 meters.
6 metri?
Yeah.
No, the wall or
The wall
just
of
the
this
wall?
building.
The wall is 6 meters.
The wall of the building is 6
Okay.
meters, and the fence is 2.5 meters.
Aha. Un tagad lūdzu, jūs te paredziet tātad skvēru stādījumus arī ieeju skvērā, ja? Un tad vēl te arī tādas perimetrālas stādījumus, ja?
Yeah.
Nu, droši vien, ka šajā vietā nekas tur labi neaugs. Tagad lūdzu, un pretējā pustīti, šeit, šajā vietiņā, arī paliek brandmūrs. Te, kur demontāžu parādās.
No, there is an existing building behind it, like you see it, and this will keep. It's not in my territory.
Un tagad lūdzu, šajā skvēriņā gāja tranzīts, tā publiska raksturs.
The square is the closed, and the entrances to the square is from the inner yard.
Okay, sorry. But you, well, you have a P, arrow indicating with
Yeah.
a P, yeah. And then you have parking underneath. You have parking
yeah.
here,
Yeah.
and
From
trees
here-
on top.
Yeah, but these trees are exactly too high, and in the model we see the.
This is maybe 40 centimeters thick. It's not possible to actually with trees, yeah, up there. Maybe you can put green lawn. You could go up there and plant things, but I think it's problematic to.
There is a possibility to go deeper and make this floor a bit thicker.
Well, from my side, just more of a comment. I guess it's very good chosen theme for thesis. What is lacking and what was already mentioned in reviewers notice, it's like understanding about the surrounding projects for the water development, since they are. A lot of buildings are already under some kind of restoration or renovation or rebuilding. So it would be, maybe it would give some understanding about what's happening around. And maybe that would also answer about those parking places, since VEF is in very good place in a city, and there is a lot of public transport around. So actually, this territory maybe don't need so much car spaces as for parking.
Yeah, but
as
there
it
is
could be somewhere else.
there is nowhere to put the car, because there around are only the paid parkings, and for the habitants it wouldn't
But
be
is
good.
it one property, or it's just a part of bigger property?
You
Is
mean
this
the,
one like one owner's property?
this actually
Okay.
Do you have the solution of the parking on plan?
actually no.
Design?
No, it was just an idea that it could be good if it had there. The square meters is about 500 under the park.
Yeah, I think that is necessary to explain how with the solution.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anything else to add?
Just one comment that, you know, I see your existing building, and that you use this lightweight structure, and you came up with this sort of modular component to modulate the facade. So when you look at the model here, and then you look at the original building, I think you've successfully, in a very simple way, created a facade that actually brings a new face to the facade, and at the same time you're preserving the existing structure behind it. So taking into account that it's a minimal effort to use a lightweight structure like that, I think you successfully bring something to that old facade with this new element. So I think that works well. despite some of the other issues on the parking and stuff, that component works well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Next to present is comparison of the design principles of dementia daycare centers in European countries.
Hello, dear jury, audience, colleagues. Today I would like to present you my bachelor thesis work. Dementia is a loss of cognitive functioning, which is responsible for thinking, remembering, and reasoning. It is a neurological disease that affects elderly population in age group 65+. The most commonly type of dementia is Alzheimer's disease. And dementia not only affects the patient, but also the family members and society. Because if there is someone who suffers from dementia in the family, some other family members must take care of this patient and are no longer able to participate in their daily routine. As countries become more developed, the birth rate falls while life expectancy increases and dementia is developing. The number of patients intends to more than double each 15 to 20 years. The goal of thesis was to understand how architecture might improve the quality of dementia patients, since it is proven that purpose-designed environment can slow down the progression of the disease. The research task was to explore the theory, how dementia can change how dementia changes the perception of the patient, and how purpose-designed environment can aid these perceptual changes. Also to analyze how design principles are applied in existing architecture in European countries, and to compare theory with case studies and set guidelines for design proposal. The research questions were determined, including questions about how dementia changes the perception of the residents and what design approaches and principles are related to dementia. To answer these questions, both quantitative and qualitative methods were used in research. This topic is rather complex and unclear for both society and specialists of the field. So the comparison between normal aging and aging with dementia was explained in the chapter about dementia. Dementia is a progressing disease with three main stages. Regarding to these stages, three care topologies were distributed, from which daycare center was chosen for the proposal design. The location of this type of care facilities is very important, since patients in first two stages are still able and should be part of the society. Even though most people desire for more greener surroundings on the outskirts of the city, it might become as a burden in aging. The location should be considered close to aging population homes, since the daycare center would be daily visited. Stimulating activities for brain work should be designed, using haptic sense and diverse materials to recreate memories from the past. Materiality of building could set the atmosphere and should be home-like. Light reflecting colors should be used. In addition, contrasting colors should be used to highlight the changes and details. Physical activities should take part both indoors, such as dancing, and outdoors, to provide the residents with fresh air that would improve the health issues. 4 case studies were analyzed in Europe. Similar approaches in all of these cases were discovered. All of the complexes were designed as 2-floor parametric buildings around safe and closed inner yard. A crucial part of all the designs were circular movement without any deadlocks, so that the dementia patients could wander around. Recommendations and guidelines for design proposal were set, concluding the theoretical part and case studies. Purpose design architecture can slow down the progression of the disease. The users of the daycare center would be early and middle stage dementia patients whose mobility might be affected, but they are still able to do at least some of daily activities without any assistance. And analysis where elderly population lives in Riga was done. Also, I explored the 3 existing facilities that are for the dementia patients, although none of these facilities are purpose designed for dementia patients and host together all kinds of neurological patients. 8 options were analyzed, and the best one was chosen location is Moscow Sports Center in between of Tirsa Sadovnikova and Kraslova Sijela. This location is rather green residential suburb with brick and wood architecture, green parks, church, and church for local community. The building program follows from design principles that were analyzed in theoretical part and main activities for dementia patients that would stimulate the brain work. The concept is set comparing minimal needs for one resident and multiplied for 13 to 17 residents living together, which is an optimal amount of patients living together. And to increase the utility of the building, these groups of 30 to 70% people were placed in the center with some shared activities and some divided spaces, hosting 60 residents in total in this future facility. Changes cause stress and discomfort for dementia patients, so the entrance is a very important part of the building and sets the tone of the day. Transition from home to the care center must be as comfortable and pleasant as possible. Glazed atrium is full of natural light, but already shelters the patient from the weather conditions. Bringing in the greenery and trees gives the natural and relaxed feeling. From entrance, 2 main blocks are proposed, with the circular movement around the main inner yards, without any deadlocks, so the patients can wander around freely without assistance. Main activities for the stimulating brain work are designed. The music room and group rooms are located closer to the street side, while library is designed as open space but divided with the bookcases. In the middle of these activities, quiet rooms are located for the reason if senses are overstimulated, short-time shelter is provided. Wellness center is in the middle of the building, located with a view to the atrium. And physiotherapy in the first floor is also designed as for local needs, and more private atmosphere in the deck for the bathing area is designed. Both single and double rooms are is designed in the depth of the building to provide more privacy. Eating zones is designed in the middle of this. Service areas connected to the both residential areas and wellness center. Safe and closed inner yard is designed in the middle of 2 complexes. here residents can do activities regarding haptic sense, such as gardening and physical activities that would increase and stabilize their health conditions. Natural materials are used. Bricks are chosen to blend with the surrounding architecture where bricks are commonly used, and glass windows provides residents with natural daylight. Dementia not only affects the patient but all the family and society. Dementia daycare centers would give a chance for patients to spend their day in the center where the progression of disease would be slowing down, but to go back home and to their family every evening, while the burden for the family members would be taken off, and they could continue their daily routine. The relevance of dementia is undoubtedly growing fast, since life expectancy increases and dementia is developing. People nowadays want not only to live longer, but to have a better quality of life and mobility as long as possible. Thank you for your attention.
The review on the theoretical part of the work was done by Ilse. And what she states as the positive qualities of the thesis are, okay, so it's in Latvian, I'll try to translate again. The author has really tried to analyze and understand the problem of the dementia diagnosis and how architecture could, how good architectural environment could help in the process of the illness. And as the disadvantages and imperfections of the thesis, she has stated that she hasn't seen any serious disadvantages, but since architecture is mainly a visual field, then she would like to have a better visual side of the work and more photos in the work that could help explain the idea. And it's not very clearly understood why the master's project was chosen. And the question is on the slide.
So to clarify the chosen site in the master's project, as I explained in my presentation earlier, I chose 8 options in the Riga and compared them, including main values for dementia daycare center, which was where the elderly population is living in Riga, what is the accessibility by the car, public transport, and pathways to this area, the size of area, which was determined to be at least 2,500 square meters, and also one of the points that closeness and accessibility to the hospital.
And for the practical part, the reviewer was Sabine Westlager, and the positive qualities of the thesis are very interesting and challenging topic with a very sensitive user group, which in turn demands a lot of careful planning. The planning of the building is derived from the research conducted in this topic and adapted and applied to the chosen building plot. There is great understanding of the needs required by the user group, and an attempt is made to fully accommodate these requirements. Overall, the most positive quality is the challenging topic choice, which is based on real issues and demand from the aging society. The disadvantages and imperfections of the thesis. Overall connection from the research to the design is hard to understand. Attempt to showcase the research examples is made, however, no clear link is explained to the conclusions implemented in the architectural design. The graphical quality of the thesis requires more attention. Facade drawings and sections lack necessary information, axes and height marks. No structural technologies or details are provided. The text descriptions of the thesis boards and booklet could be improved with more detail and focus on the reader. Some information is missing. Although program plans have taken into account the user requirements, no clear innovative approach or more in-depth design is attempted for the architectural aspects of the project.
One of the questions was how neighborhood architecture influences the chosen design solution. So the first thing is that the material chose, which was bricks. And as I said, it is a commonly used material in surrounding buildings. And about the orientation and building program related to building plot and surroundings. So the volume of the street is decreasing, as you can see from this street that is more used for the cars, and it's going lower to be closer to the human scale and have more neighborhood effect. Also, the public zones of the facility, these active zones, are located closer to the street right here, and the private zones, which are private rooms, are more in the depth of the building. And about the choice of materials in the interior. Interior is light reflecting colors, although the contrasting colors should be applied where changes or accents are needed, so the residents would easily perceive these changes. And sound absorbent material should be used as a flooring to increase the quality of the sound in the center. Thank you.
Let's see the questions. Okay. Do you have questions?
I just maybe commented. I think it's very kind of logically built. It seems like the process has been very logically built. That probably also this kind of building requires that you go through the analysis, and then I see the link between the research and the project. I don't know what she was writing about, but yeah, it seems like there is a clear link, and also how the building is built according to all the steps. So and it's presented well. So I think it's good. The only thing that I could agree is that maybe in the facades it could be nice, not about the height marks and those things, but it would be nice to see this surrounding context, because it seems like there is a lot of things going on around. So it would be nice that not kind of it's not just to see, but I think that your project could be even stronger, because then you see that the surrounding scale is similar, the materials are maybe similar, then it becomes just stronger.
I can only agree. Because already in the scale model, you can see that it really sits in a place. Context also.
That's why I meant this 3D image, and then the model, and the way you address the street, and then come back down to the site. I think that works well. And I just have a question about the materials. I see on your board here that you're showing materials, but can you just verbally explain a little bit how you're using materials on the floor and the walls? Because in some of the research materials, it showed that materials and change of materials for people with dementia is very important to give them, to use memory to orient themselves through a space. So how would you propose to use the materials in the interior?
There are two sides of this thing. First one is this haptic sense that recreates the memories from the past and should be used, for example, wooden materials and natural materials such as bricks. And as well, the center should stick to the very easy to understand materials and the colors, for example, and accents and different colors should be applied only where it is really necessary. For example, if the walls are in light color, the furniture should be in totally different opposite colors. Yes, they cannot be in the same tone because they have this loss of depth and problems with perceiving depth. And if they are not in enough contrasting colors, it can just cause extra stress for them.
Also, just a comment also, because I think there's an interesting sort of polemic here. I mean, dementia is about this issue of memory loss, and at the same time using architecture as, or the memory of architecture as the actual tool to actually guide these patients or these elderly citizens in the facility. So I think this whole idea of presence and materiality and memory are key in architecture to people that don't even have these difficulties. So being able to accentuate the architecture to recall memory, I think, is very interesting challenge. So how you can not only visually, but you can actually touch where you're going and feel where you're going. So I think it's a very good project and investigation.
Okay, so I have to highlight also the part A and part B, because you are treating both with care, and I think that the result is very good. So also the transition of the scale in both directions, in this one and in this one, is very good. I think that is solved with elegancy, so it's perfect. I only have a little doubt about about the space that I consider that is the center of the project. That is this. So is the the joint between the two masses. So the courtyard is this one, and I was wondering about this connection. So how is connected this part of the building with the rest? Because I'm trying to understand the connection, but I cannot find how it's solved. And I was thinking also about the possibilities to to increase the importance of this point, okay? Probably it's an option, okay? The result is very good, I insist, but probably, this is my question, I'm thinking about it, because I really consider this the center of the project, okay? So probably cleaning all around the patio, all around this center, could be, this space could be better. It's a possibility, okay? But how is connected this?
Well, basically, it's the main reason for it is a transition zone, so it needs to be somehow enclosed from the parts that are later continuing. So in this zone, they come in, they feel comfortable, they feel welcoming, they kind of change their feelings from the home, and only then they are entering the residential zones. And this one, I think, if all around would be clear, this atrium would not be fully used if it would be used only as the entrance. And that's why I increase the utility of the space. So the peoples that are using hairdresser or beauty salon can have this visibility around and what is going on in the atrium.
Okay.
Es tikai gribēju noprecizēt, sakat, lūdzu, šeit virs garāžas, te kur garāža, es atvainojos, stāvlaukums, un te ir manevru zonīte, tieši tā virsū uznāk šie te koku stādījumi, ja? Un tad ir jautājums, vai vis cauri ir vienāds šis te pārseguma biezums. Droši vien šajā vietā.
Jā, šajā vietā tas būtu tāds piedāvāts lielāks, tāpēc es uzskatu, ka arī šis augstums var samazināties stāvvietās. Nebūtu tikpat augsts, cik dzīvojamās zonās.
Aha, viņš pats mūtu. Jā, tī novilti vienu veselu līniju, kā tāda. Tad šeit ir tikai 6 metri šajā vietiņā. Platums, cik te jūs rādat. Bet šeit savukārt ārkārtīgi blīvs koku stādījumu apjoms. Man liekas, ka te būs telpās gana tumšs, kaut vai paņemot šo te skastoties šo te koku proporciju gar malām, gar ēkas sienām. Ja tur jūs ir padomājis kaut kāds savādāk, ka tie nebūs stādīti koki, tie būs konteineru stādi.
Jā, drīzāk tie būtu konteineros stādīti koki arī tās nespējas dēļ konstrukcijā. Un koki ir veidoti tādēļ, lai veidotu arī noēnojumu, jo šī tas ārējas starp iekštāvs apgaismojumu, masīvu apgaismojumu un dabīgu apgaismojumu, viņai ir jābūt lēnai un vēlams ar noēnojumu, lai neradītu apžilbinājumu pacientu.
Tādā gadījumā šie arī noteikti konteineru stādi, jo šeit ir pārsegums virsū. Jumts ir virsū, tā mitavas plātnes mums. Labi, paldies.
Congratulations.
So that's all. Thank you. That's all for today. Please feel comfortable to take this children's room. Maybe just a brief meeting. Yeah. It's up to you to decide what you're going to do today, but probably we'll finalize all the things tomorrow. But anyway, if you would like to exchange few words.
Maybe just discuss it a little bit before we get
Jo viņš ir tā kā mašs tāds, viņš reāli ir tā, ka otrā stāva līmenī, tad mēs esam viņš vienīgais ir bišķi problēmas. Nu, bišķi, jā, kā tomēr to nostipēšanu. Viņš arī nav pierādījums. Nebūtu, nu, pielīmēt mājas, bet
И надо будет повесить только когда на одном уровне вверх, да?
to man liekas vienīgais vispār pasaulē, par tādu domāt. Jā. Šī ir, man liekas, pagājušana. Tas līgums nav
sēdēšanās bija priekšā. Kaut ko labu teiksiet? Jā, tā paldies ir Paldies. Jā, Nē, es biju šķīmis, pats nolicis pirkstu. Tas ir riktīgs.
Jā, Andrīs nebija. Ja mums kāda ballīta pirmā stāvā varbūt kaut kāda dizaina bija organizēs.
Jā. Tas ir jā. Ballīta un bērni diezgan nopietni strādā, kas tas ir labi vai nav.
Tas ir riktīgi, kā saka. Laikam, tas ir smords. Mācījies. Es jau gribot, ka nevis pamēģināju, kā saka, palabot un ņānu tekstu. Un viņš iemācīs to no galvas un ko saka? Jā, arī, jā. Tu pārlieku, kā saka.
Nē, forši.
Nevis, ka nevar izspiet, bet ka ir kaut kas jāpamet nost visu laiku. Tas jau labi. Nu jā, labi. Priekš tev sastapīt, nu tu pagaidām vēlreiz. Nesaspiedīšu.
Čau.
Nē, paldies.
Izēj. Paldies. Es skapiem tepat esmu.
Vai šeit?
Kā es esmu?
Jautājumiem, kas ir planšetes un maršruti. Es salīmēšu bildi pēc viens, un es varu piedāt visus kopā. Patā. Es valstūties, te ieiet, te maršruts. Jā, tas nāk.
Forši.
dzīvo teritoriju pievienā.
Man tāpēc, ka šeit ir vieta, kur vakar arī mājām, kur mājām nedušajās. Es domāju, ka nebūs vajag kā.
Jā, lai to mēs iebam šo tenantus, zaļos un tā visu. Mēs varbūt vēlreiz ar projektam jau tā publiskojas un vajag pieaugt. Man visi kā jau tas ir vajag.
Tas, ka visies ir tā uztaisības celas, jau
Es domāju, ka viņam varbūt vajag iedot viņš tā pretspējīgā.
jā, man būs vajag priekšā pārējā. Jā, vēl tos saņemšos planšetes.
Kaut kā tā.
Jā, ok.
Es domāju, kā tu to dari. Nu tā kā forši aizgāja, varēja visu dabūt telefonā un tā.
Varēja dabūt telefonā.
Jā.